Thanks for having me again, guys. Like I said, my name is Malakai Sparks. You probably recognize the last name. Kent's my dad. And today I want to talk to you about the importance of reflecting on creation. And so why do I think this is important? The reason why I think it's important is because as a society, we have become industrialized, commercialized, that we lost touch with creation. And as a result, we've lost touch as a society with our Creator, which has dire consequences for our health and well-being, not only for an individual basis, but a societal basis. And so today I want to be in Psalms 104, and with that, I'll pray and then get into it. Dear Lord, thank you so much. Thank you for your creation, God, and just us being here today, loving on you, and just hopefully have a good message. And I pray that, Lord, in your name, amen. All right, so I know what you're probably thinking after hearing that introduction. You're probably thinking, okay, here we go. Here's this Christian guy. He's going to tell me, it's time to make your own butter, time to get some goats and milk them and, be a little house on the prairie. No, definitely not. That's my cousin. That's not me. So I actually hate camping, and I hate being outdoors, like in the wilderness. I absolutely hate it, despise it. And the last time I went camping was 10 years ago, and I came home and I told my wife, I'm never doing that ever again. You can leave me. I'm not going camping ever again. And what happened was, so about 10 years ago, one of our really good friends, the Hogues, Nick and Tiffany Hogue, they were getting married, and we were both in the wedding, me and my wife, Jackie. And so that weekend, it was the bachelorette party for Tiffany. And so Nick calls me, and I've been friends with Nick for a long time. And he goes, Sparky dog, let's go, man. We're going to go camping this weekend. Me, you, Rory, and my old roommate, Pete. Are you in? And I'm like, oh, man, I don't know. Let me talk to Jackie. So I talked to Jackie, and I'm like, hey, do you think I should go? She's like, dude, you hate camping. You literally hate camping. I'm like, I don't know. I want to turn a new leaf. I want to be out in the wilderness. I want to do my own stuff, hunt, cook, all that stuff. And she's like, okay, well, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I'm gone. I'm like, okay. So I call him back. I'm like, all right, Nick, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this, bro. And he's like, okay, meet me in my house. We're going to Rory's. Rory has a brand new truck. It's super spacious, really nice. And we're going to go from there. I said, okay. So we cruise up to Big Sur. And we're at Big Sur, and we get there late at night. And when I mean it's a campground, it's literally a campground. There's no showers. There's nothing. We are parked next to a little stream, right? I'm like, this is shady. How do we know there's not bears and bobcats and stuff right here? And they're like, you don't. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, we're off to a good start. So we set up camp. We're having a good time, and then we go to bed. That first night was nice. I'm like, wow, my back doesn't hurt. I'm sleeping well. Everything's going really good. So we wake up, we have our little morning coffee, and, like I said, I'm kind of enjoying myself. Then around 10 o'clock, the heat starts coming in. And I mean, it starts getting real hot. And then the flies start coming in, right? All the flies and the mosquitoes. And at this point, I'm starting to lose my mind. I'm swinging around dude, these flies are everywhere, man. They're in my ears, they're in my mouth, hitting my eyeballs. I'm starting to lose it, right? And the guy, Pete, he goes, hey, dude, what you need to get away. You're starting to kind of freak everyone out. Why don't you come with me into the woods and get some firewood? I'm like, perfect. So I go in there, and Pete's a cool guy. He's an interesting dude. He's like, hey, do you have any hobbies? I'm like, yeah, I got a few hobbies. I like to play golf. I like to do this, I like to do that. And he goes, oh, I'm like, what about you? He's like, oh, I make candles. I'm like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, you're 29 years old. You make that's your hobby? And he's like, yeah, I love it. Have all this different. He's telling me everything: where he gets the wick, where he gets the wax, how he gets all the flavors, so it smells good. I'm like, wouldn't it just be easier to buy one for $10? Whatever. So we come back to camp, and he goes, okay, the flies start kicking in again. I'm starting to kind of lose it. And Pete goes, the rule? I'm like, what? We get to leave? What's the rule? He's like, no, if you get the firewood, you got to cut it. So I'm like, oh, I've never even swung an axe in my life. I'm total city slicker, So I'm like, okay, so I'm cutting this wood, and I'm just sweating. It's so hot. There's so many flies. I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes. I think I have West Nile, and I'm getting really irritated. So I sweat it all. It's about an hour of chopping wood. We go to bed. We're starting to get around the campfire. I'm like, I can't believe I have 2 more days of this, man. I don't know if I can do this. So me and Nick, we go to bed together. That sounds bad. We go to the same tent together, opposite sides, not Brokeback Mountain stuff. We are in there, and it's like the middle of the night. It's the middle of the night, and all of a sudden, I get the worst Charlie horse I've ever gotten in my life. It was because I'm so dehydrated from the heat, from the cutting of the wood, and I just start yelling. I'm like, oh my gosh. And Nick wakes up and he has a little light thing on. He's like, wow. He starts freaking out. I'm like, yo, what's going on? He's like, I thought you were getting eaten by a bear, dude. Like, I'm like, no, I got a Charlie horse. So then I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is absolutely miserable. This is totally horrible. There's no shower. I smell. I have cramps. And I won't go there. Anyways, I have cramps. And I'm just, this is not, I should not have come on this trip. So then I start, I'm only human. I start fantasizing. I'm like, okay, what if I write a manifesto to the boys and I just take Rory's truck and I go to the Hilton and I take a nice hot shower. I'm there for 2 days and I come back and pick the boys up. I can have a nice hot shower and get a bottle of champagne, some tacos by the pool. Now that is a vacation right there. This is horrible. So as you can see, I had to experience God in another way in nature because that one wasn't doing it for me. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have a little fun, hopefully. We're going to talk about some scientific studies as well as some scripture. And like I said, just my personal experience and how I was able to connect with God's creation. So before we get into the Psalm 104, I just want to read a couple of statistics that I pulled up. As everyone can see, I don't think America is the healthiest nation right now, right? I think we are in the worst shape spiritually, mentally, and physically that we've ever been. And I want to read you some stats. This is from the NHANES, okay? And they said 70% of Americans have insufficient vitamin D levels. Insufficient vitamin D levels. What does that mean? You get vitamin D from going outside in the sun rays, okay? So I'm like, man, how long do you need to be in the sun to have actual sufficient vitamin D? And I went to the CDC website, and the CDC says for an adult to have normal vitamin D levels, depending on the season, just need to be outside for 5 to 30 minutes a day. Most Americans aren't even outside for 5 minutes a day. That's insane, right? I read that and I'm like, oh my gosh. Physically, 42% of all adults in the United States are obese. Brutal. This is the most brutal stat that I saw. Mental health. From ages 10 to 34, the second leading cause of death is suicide. How sad is that? These are like fourth graders. Spiritually, so they did this tracking, and in the 1900s, they started doing it from 1960 all the way to 1999. It stayed stable. Then we started seeing a big drop off in the 2000s of church affiliation and weekly attendees. In the 90s and 1900s, from 1960 to 1999, 75% of Americans affiliated with the church. 50% of Americans went weekly. Fast forward to 2024, 50% of people affiliate with church. It means 50% of Americans now are atheists. 35% is weekly attenders. So we're not in a good spot. And I really think the reason why we're not in a good spot is, like I said, we started to see the numbers shift when we started to work more in office buildings, not going out as much. The internet came along. We're not leaving our house. We're watching Netflix, doing all these things. We started to see all these negative effects of that. And so what I want to go over today is Psalms 104, talking about the creation, talk about what some of the big heavy hitters in the Bible also have to say about being in creation, and then also some scientific studies to back that up. So first, I want to read Psalms 104, 24 to 25, and 31 to 34. O Lord, what a variety of things you have made. In wisdom, you have made them all. The earth is filled with your creatures. Here in the ocean, vast and wide, teeming with life of every kind, both large and small, may the glory of the Lord continue forever. The Lord takes pleasure in all he's made. The earth trembles at his glance. The mountains smoke at his touch. I will sing to the Lord as long as I live. I will praise my God to my last breath. May all the thoughts be pleasant to him, for I rejoice in the Lord. So what's his point? He's not in church. He's not getting a message. He's not singing worship songs. The author of the Psalms is literally just going outside, looking at everything God's made. He's looking at the ocean. He's looking at the fishes. He's looking at, he says, a smoking mountain, so like a volcano, it sounds like. And he's watching all this unfold, and he goes, wow, God is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And he's so amazing. This is so enriching my soul that every day I live, I want to please him. That's what he said. All just from being in nature. So the first thing I want to touch on is the spiritual benefits of being in nature. And like I said, there's so many things in the Bible that talk about creation, how amazing it is, but I wanted to pull some of the heavy hitters in, some of the Hall of Famers of the Bible. Okay, Isaiah, Paul, Job, David, so I want to read a couple of those guys. First one is Paul, okay? And if you guys know the Apostle Paul, he wrote pretty much half the New Testament. And historians say, this is secular historians, so these aren't religious historians. Secular historians say the Apostle Paul is one of the smartest people to ever live. Top 5. Just an absolute genius of a dude. And so he talks about creation in Romans 1:20. And he's arguing with the Romans all the time about Jesus and God and creation and blah, blah, blah. And so this is what he says. He says, man cannot say they do not know about God. For the beginning of the world, men could see what God is like through the things he has made. This shows his power that lasts forever. It shows that he is God. Very simple. I can put together 1,000 arguments. I can try to box you in. I can try to arm wrestle you. Just go outside and look. How can you deny God just by not just going outside? Just look at what outside. Look what he's created. And this is something that spoke personally to me because this is kind of what happened to me on kind of my little journey is I started getting really into running. And there's this one spot on the beach path that I call my happy place, right? Happy Gilmore has his happy place. It's a different place than Happy's. It's my happy place, not his. And there's this one spot that when I look at it and I go there, I'm always at peace and calm. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Like yesterday I did 5 miles of HIIT intervals, right? So, and when I do those HIIT intervals, I got to get real jacked up because I'm running 600 meters 12 times for 5 miles. And the halfway point is my happy place. Okay, so my body is thrashed during the middle of this thing, right? I am dry heaving sometimes. I am just absolutely, I know I'm a sick puppy. I don't know why I like it, but I do, right? So I'm going through the interval. So my music has to be like super, super pump up music, right? So I got to have AC/DC. I'm not listening to worship music. I'm listening to AC/DC, Rage Against the Machine, Jimi Hendrix, Poker Face by Gaga, the heavy hitters, the heavy hitters. And so I get to my spot and I'll push pause. And even though I'm all jacked, I'm just completely torn apart. I just look. And I remember thinking the first time I was there, I just look and I go, man, this is unbelievable, this spot. You can look to the left and you can see the pier perfectly. You can see the cliffs. You can see the waves. You can see the surfers. And then if you go take a look right, you're looking at downtown Long Beach, the big buildings. You can see the Queen Mary. You can see the port of San Pedro. And then you look straight ahead, and you can see Catalina Island. And I remember sitting there thinking, there's absolutely no way this could, like the first time I was there, this is what really hit me, and this is what reminded me of the Paul verse. There's absolutely no way we were here by accident. Just absolutely. Like I'm sitting here right now, spinning around a giant ball of fire going thousands of miles an hour. Everything is perfectly held in place by this thing called gravity. A couple inches off the axis, we have an ice age and everything dies. A couple inches closer off the access to the sun, we just burn and incinerate. So we're literally in like inches of just perfectly circling around this big ball of fire. It's just mind-blowing. How could anyone think that one day it just blew up and gravity exists and waves exist? And then I'm looking at the waves and I'm thinking, man, these waves have been doing this for thousands of years. Like, how small am I? You know? And that was a great realization for me. Isaiah 40:26. This is what he said. Isaiah is just sitting there. He's laying on his back. He's taking a look. Like I said, he's just observing God's beauty. And he says, lift your eyes up and see. Who has made these stars? It is the one who leads them by number. He calls them all by name. Because of the greatness of his strength and because of the strong power, not one is missing. So he's literally looking there. He goes, God placed every single one of these stars in here. He's named every single one of these stars. This is unbelievable. I can't believe I'm looking at this. It's nuts. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen stars when there's no light and just how many they are and how amazing they are. It's great. I don't do it camping because I don't camp anymore, but sometimes when I go out to the desert, I'll just do that, and it's just absolutely insane. Then we have Job. This is one of my favorite ones, Job. So do you guys know who Job is? Yeah, he got tortured by the devil. It's not a very good deal for the guy. So he's sitting there and he goes, but ask the wild animals, as they will teach you. Ask the birds of the heavens, and let them tell you. Or speak to the earth, and let it teach you. Let the fish of the sea make it known to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every living thing and the breath of all man. So at this time, when Job wrote that, at this time, pirates came to his farm. He was a very wealthy man. He owned a lot of land, and they stole all of his land from him. His wife left him. His friends all denounced him. And God told Satan that he can absolutely give him the business, right? Do whatever you want with him, just don't kill him. So at this time, he has this rotting, his flesh is rotting. He has boils all over his flesh. He's in immense pain. And what's the only thing who's given comfort to him? God's creation. He's like, look at that bird. Look at that beautiful bird. Look at that tree. Look at that mountain. Look at this. And this brings me to a story that I have with my son. My son Noah, as you guys know, or some of you know, some of you don't. He, 2 years ago, he broke his leg in the middle of summer. And for Noah, his favorite things to do is go swimming in a pool, is to run, and to bike. And he was at summer school one day, and he was at summer school one day, and he's running full speed, and his teacher goes, hey, Noah, stop. So he plants too hard, and he breaks his leg, spiral fracture. Yeah, brutal. Poor little guy. So we take him into the doctor, and I don't know if you've ever been to a kid's optometrist or leg person. I'm not a doctor, but you know what I mean. You walk in there. That's where he gets the cast. So you walk in there, and it's like Tiny Tim's little workshop. There's like these little crutches, there's these little canes, and you're like, it's kind of throwing me off. So worst comes to worst, they say, hey, he has a broken leg. You got to wrap it and we got to wrap it all the way up to pretty much his groin. So I'm like, oh man, this is brutal, you know? So that's what he does. So we wrap it all up, and you know, he's just really bummed out because he can't do anything. He can't walk. He can't run. He can't ride his bike. Can't go, and he doesn't really understand why at this point. And so one day I'm like, hey, Noah, why don't we just go, why don't you come with me on a run? I'll just push you in the jogger. And he's like, okay, yeah. So, and I remember I didn't wear my headphones this time because I just wanted to see how he was doing, what he was saying, kind of just make sure he's not getting hurt if it's, if the buggy's bouncing up and down or whatever. And I can just see his little face, and he just finally hits that wind in his hair, and he's just like, oh, this is so great. And the sun hitting his skin. And then when we get to the beach path, and he's looking at the squirrels, and he's so excited to see the squirrels. He's like, oh, there's a squirrel, Dad. There's another squirrel. And then we finally get to my happy place. We're overlooking it, and he just looks at me and he goes, Dad, I just love the water. And I'm like, this kid, he's just like Job, right? He's being his summer is ruined, can't do anything he wants to do, and what's the one thing that gets him an escape. And that's God's creation. It's pretty cool, pretty powerful. The last one here, by King David, Psalms 19, 1 through 4. The heavens are telling of your greatness, of the God of the great. Open spaces above show the work of his hands. Day to day they speak, and night to night they show much learning. There is no speaking and no words where their voice is not heard. Their should has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has a place and a tent for the sun. So what's David doing? He's describing how the skies testify God's glory, and he's realizing God's greatness, right? And what is the point with all these three authors? What the point is this: you don't have to be a super big-time Bible thumper to connect with God. You just got to go outside and look and appreciate his greatness. Mental benefits. So this is the mental benefits part, and I have a couple, like I said, America's at the worst mental illness that we've ever had. And so there's a study here. I have 3 studies. And in 2015, Bratman and colleagues found that a 90-minute walk in nature, in a nature setting, compared to an urban one, so in a park rather than a city, significantly reduces rumination, those repetitive negative thoughts that are linked to depression. Participants who walked among trees and greeny shadow areas had less mental strain and a more calming effect. And then we have another study by Ulrich in 1991. And what they did there is they took people from surgery, people that came out of surgery, and they put them in 2 different kinds of recovery rooms, right? A bunch of people went into recovery rooms that overlooked trees and nature and mountains, and the other people, they just got put in recovery rooms that looked at brick walls, and that's it. And what they found with all the participants is the ones that were in the natural nature, that had the window of all the nature stuff, they recovered way quicker, and they had way less pain and needed way less pain medication. That's what they found. So just nature soothed their soul from pain and also recovery. There's another study published in the Scientific Report in 2019, found that spending time in nature, particularly 120 minutes a week, is associated with increased physical activity. Now, I know this to be true myself. This one hit home because when I was at one time 60 pounds heavier than I was today, and I'm looking in the mirror one day and I'm like, I got to do something. 60-pound overweight. My wife's really hot. I don't want her to leave me. She's got great genes. And then the other service didn't get that one. It was like crickets. So I'm like, I need to go do something. So I buy a Peloton. And I set my Peloton up in my garage, and I'm like riding the Peloton. And it's nice, it's cool, And Cody, the instructor, he's a funny guy. And so we were doing it, and then I would do about 45 minutes a day on the Peloton, kind of grinding it out. Then one day, I wanted to give Jackie like a break in the morning because we just had our first son, Noah. I was like, you know what? I'll just wake up early with Noah. I'll put him in the stroller, and I'll just walk him, I'll do a little 3-mile loop, walk him around to the beach and back. And my buddy calls me, and I start getting into it. And I'm really, really stoked about these walks. I don't know why I'm looking forward to them, so much more. And my buddy calls me, Chase, and he goes, hey, man, what's up? I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on, but like, I love my morning times with Noah. I love walking and da-da-da. Don't get me wrong, I love the Peloton and all that kind of stuff, but dude, it's so enjoyable just going and seeing the ocean and just being out in nature. I just really want to, I feel like I kind of want to kick it up a notch. I kind of want to maybe go jogging. I maybe want to go longer. And so that's what I started doing. I started jogging, then I started running, and then these last 14 months, I just ran 4 marathons, all just because, thank you. It's because that study is right. 120 minutes a week in nature, you're going to want to do more, right? You're going to want to push yourself a little more. I don't know what it is. I can't, I'm not a scientist, but these guys figured it out. It just does. Your brain's wired that way. Here's another crazy study right here from the British Journal of Sports Medicine. This is absolutely insane. And it was reviewed by 97 people, 139 trials, and 128,000 participants. And it found that physical activity outside is 1.5 times more effective than taking the leading medication for managing depression, anxiety, and physical distress. 150 times better. So drop the Xanny bomb and take a run outside. That's what he's saying, right? That's crazy. You say 150% on anything, you do it, right? If you put lotion on your face, it's going to make you 150% younger. Perfect. Sign me up. Buy this stock. You'll make 150%. Great. I mean, that's so mind-boggling. It's absolutely so mind-boggling, that stat. So that's some of the mental health benefits from being outside. Now I want to get into my last point, which is physical health benefits. And have you guys heard of Andrew Huberman? Some of you guys? Okay. So I'll give you a little background on him. And so he got his PhD from neuroscience in UC Davis, and he completed his postdoctorate at Stanford University. And now right now he's the associate professor of neurobiology at Stanford University. Okay, he's about 53 years old, and he has published 88 peer reviews. 88. Okay, and he's only like 52, 53 years old. And he started late. He tried to become a professional skateboarder, and so he didn't start till he was like 22, 23 to get all of his medical stuff done. So he's a pretty impressive guy. He's one of the most well-respected minds in the medical field right now. And he did this study. It's called the Sunlight Study. And if you look at pictures of him about 15 years ago, right, he's still pretty jacked, but he's pretty jacked right now. But if you look at him 15 years ago, he's pale, just straight white. And now, if you look at him, has this nice brown glow to him. And pretty much what he's saying is, I was in the lab all day, every day, and I would go to the gym afterwards, and that was my life. I never saw the sun, did anything. And he goes, something needs to change. I'm starting to kind of feel, off. Something needs to change. So he would just go outside and walk around for a half an hour a day. That was his thing. I'm going to go outside, I'm going to take my shirt off, and I'm just going to walk around, or else just lay down and get sun for like a half an hour. And he's found that him personally, he started feeling amazing. He's like, I've never felt this way. I felt better than I've ever felt in my life. And so what he decided to do is do a scientific study on it. And what he's come up with, what his findings were, and I kind of narrowed it down because if you ever read these things, it's one of the most confusing things you'll ever read in your life. So you kind of have to like be that guy with the chart, figure it all out because there's so many citations and everything like that. So I got it all kind of summarized down. And so what he found is just a half an hour of being in nature, not doing any running, not doing any bike, just being in the sun for half an hour a day. He said mood enhancement and mental health. Sunlight has a significant impact on mood. Huberman explains that viewing morning sunlight triggers dopamine release, improves mood and energy levels, and can help mitigate seasonal affect disorder, or SAD. He has a personal anecdote. He says he reports feeling less grumpy and more motivated after morning walks. Now, this is really funny because this reminds me of my grandparents. So my grandfather, Gil and Louise were my grandparents. And every once in a while, my grandma can be a little cranky, and she would start getting on Gil. She's like, Gil, this, blah, blah, blah. And then every once in a while, you just look at her and go, Louise, it's time for you to take a walk. Man's ahead of his time. Science finally caught up to him. Hormone regulation. Huberman highlights that sunlight exposure to the skin, 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times per week, can increase testosterone and estrogen output. The protocol involves minimal clothing to maximize skin exposure. So a bathing suit. If you're a guy, just trunks. Girl, a normal bathing suit. Immune system support and pain management. Sunlight exposure activates the sympathetic nerve system, enhancing spleen function and immune response, which may explain lower infection rates in summer. Additionally, sunlight increases pain tolerance by releasing endogenous, I'm really bad at these scientific terms, opioids, making it effective for chronic pain management. Skin health and wound health. Sunlight promotes skin turnover, hair growth, and wound healing, particularly during longer days, spring and summer. And he has all the research to back it up and everything that's been peer-reviewed so many times. This is like kind of his flagship deal. Sleep quality and alertness. Proper sunlight exposure, especially in the morning, regulates melatonin levels, ensures better quality sleep. Afternoon sunlight, when the sun is low, aids in transitioning to sleep by signaling end of day. Huberman notes that viewing sunlight without sunglasses maximizes light intake to the eyes, not just vitamin D, but for circular regulation. Okay, so he's talked about this. Like I said, this is kind of his flag. Like, this is his number one study that he's done. He's most famous for that one. And he goes on all these podcasts. He goes on all these stuff. And I was listening to one of these podcasts, and he was talking with Pavel, this other workout guy. And he goes, after doing that study, I now believe 100% that there's a God. That's what turned it for me. I was an atheist my whole life. And now I believe with certainty that there is a God. God revealed himself to Andrew through nature. Pretty incredible, one of the smartest men alive. He said he doesn't know what religion is the best. He said, Jesus is the closest thing I can find. Like that, I'm right there on accepting Jesus. I'm right there. I just need a little more time, but that's the one that makes the most sense to me. So that's pretty cool, right? Isn't that pretty rad that he did a nature study and found God, just like all those heavy hitters in the Bible did, right? He wasn't going to church. It wasn't singing songs. It was just being in nature, and that's how these people found God and marveled God. Pretty cool. So what's the conclusion? The conclusion, as PK says, finally science has caught up to the Bible. Pretty funny. And the big idea is if you want to get closer to the Creator, you have to spend more time in the creation, right? Andrew Huberman recommends a half an hour a day. And that's what I think would be a good start for everyone. Okay, I'm going to pray, welcome the worship team up, and then we'll get out of here. Dear Lord, thank you so much for your creation, God, and I pray that everyone in here just has a good rest of your day, and thank you for writing down how to experience you through creation. In your name, amen.